Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Ace Racing League for the second round of the Ace Racing League World GT3 Championship, hosted on Assetto Corsa Competizione. 2 weeks ago, we kicked off the new championship and season at Spa-Francorchamps. Max Janssen took a convincing victory, and Alexei Kaipinen and Simona Ferrum followed in second and third. All three drivers will be competing again today, so exciting fights will be the order of the day. The track is Zolder in Belgium. The 4 kilometer track was opened in 1963 and consists of 10 corners. I'm here today with Stijn, Prins, and Jim. I forgot his last name. Stijn also did the commentary for Spa a few weeks ago. Say hello, Stijn.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for introducing me again. Yeah, let's briefly discuss today's planning. We will be starting with a 20-minute qualifying session. The qualification will be followed by a 5-minute break, giving the drivers an opportunity to relax for a moment and prepare themselves mentally for the race. The race itself will be 40 minutes, just like last time. During these 40 minutes, all drivers will have to complete at least one pit stop. It's a mandatory one. During this pit stop, you're not allowed to refuel. If you do refuel, you will be rewarded with a penalty after the race. And Nick, quick fact: this is the first physical race I've ever been to was actually a Champ Car race in 2006 at Zolder. So this track will always have a special place in my heart. But enough about the information and some sentimental stories. Let's go over the drivers and let's go to the track today.
All right, so we appear to be having some server issues at the moment. Before we can go trackside, our gracious host Cemal is working on getting it fixed. In the meantime, why don't we say hello to our third man in the booth today, Jim? Say hello.
Yo, thanks for having me. I've been doing like ACC a little bit, so it'd be interesting to see. I've done some commentating, but I've never done a free party one, so I'm looking forward to this. Be an interesting day.
Great to hear. Sounds like we've got three eager commentators. Let's go over the standings before we get started in the action today. Max Janssen, of course, after his dominant performance at Spa, is leading with 27 points, 2 extra for pole and fastest lap. Alexei Kaipinen finished second with 18 now. Miksa Morteferin picked up 15 points for his final spot on the podium. Then it's back to Vladislav Mochienko, who is unfortunately absent today after a solid fourth place. Robert Pawn, who finished fifth, will be back this evening. So David Leltz will not. He finished sixth. Then Maxime Bedidi was seventh. Gergo Balak is questionable for today's race. He finished eighth. Pascal Egert was ninth. And Amir Havok is the last man in the standings with 1 point. He also should be reappearing today. Stijn and Jim, what do you guys think we can expect from today's race?
Oh well, at least of course Max Janssen. Yeah, at the moment I don't think anyone will be able to match him. Of course, last race Alexei Kaipinen was able to stick with him for quite a long while. But yeah, Max Janssen, I don't see him not winning this race again. I mean, it's early to say, but he's the main prospect to win a championship, of course.
Now, Jim, this is you weren't here for the last race, but what do you think about the future of the championship yourself?
I think it's going to be an interesting one. With not many drivers being on track, as far as I can tell, there's going to be a lot of time for like drivers to a lot of spacing for drivers to kind of concentrate and almost do it like a hot lap essentially. So there shouldn't be too much of the traffic. So I think on a setup wise, I think a lot of drivers probably will be going for sort of a hot lap type and not really bothering about tire management. But with it being as you do get the long of a race really, so to have a mandatory pit. So I do reckon you're going to be seeing some interesting driving strategies.
Yeah,
I'm
I can.
seeing how it goes.
Yeah, we are finally on track following Alexei Kaipinen and Robert Pawn through the first sector of Zolder. Let's take a look at the track map and we'll get you sorted on what exactly they'll be going through in today's race. The first corner is a just about 90-degree left-hander Eerst, I'm going to get every corner's name wrong because they're all in Frisian. Stijn is a tight road. He drove consistently. It was a great drive by all standards, but he didn't have the pace to match Max Janssen, and you can't blame him because Max is unreal. Although he currently sits in P3, I don't believe he's hit a lap yet. We should start seeing the times come in soon, which is going to dry out my throat considerably once they do. And Kaipinen gets a little bit adventurous with the track limits there. Stein, what do you think about that?
Yeah, people are now on their first flying lap, if I'm correct. So just like you said, we can expect some times to be set real soon, unless you take really adventurous roads and your lap time will be deleted, of course. But yeah, we'll see. Alexei Kaipinen on his way to cross the start-finish line for the first time during this qualifying session. And he'll set the benchmark for the rest of the qualifying session. He will be the driver to beat for now.
As we say that, why Sparkon, who is definitely not registered for Ace Racing League, has gone third position? I don't know who that is.
Well, we're happy to have him, of course. The more, the merrier. So.
Yeah, I guess maybe one of the drivers has forgotten to change their names.
Yeah,
I think that could be what it is.
Well-
Anyways, Alexei Kaipinen has gone first, as Stijn was talking about. He sends a benchmark of a 1:30.0. That's a pretty quick time around here, although do you think they can break into the 29s today, Stijn or Jim?
Yeah, of course. I think we can expect a lot from, especially Max Janssen. They also keep an eye out for Mixa Mortifermo, of course, the Formula 3 champion of season 2, with a lot of wins, dominant season. So yeah, we shouldn't underestimate him too much. But yeah, of course, Max Janssen, I think he qualified 5/10 or maybe 7 in front of Alexei Kaipinen last race. So I definitely wouldn't be surprised if he would be able to, yeah, break into the 29s today.
Another interesting thing the drivers have to deal with, other than normal for most of them, will be the heat, because it's getting really hot outside in a lot of places, especially Stijn noted before we got online, it was 38 degrees Celsius in the Netherlands, so that could actually come into play here. I know I get really sweaty when I race, whether it's hot or not, so in 38-degree heat, it could come down to a matter of who can stay cool.
Yeah, that's a really nice metaphor you used there. Yeah, especially indeed for the people at home, if you have like a room in the attic or something, it's gonna be a sauna today. Especially the sweaty hands may be causing some control issues, who knows. But I hope everyone will be able to cope fine with the heat today. As we can see, Alexei Kaipinen improved his time to a 1:29.4, so that means he's the first driver to break into the 29s today. But here we're spectating Max Janssen, who's on his way to set his first lap of this qualifying session. I already heard race winner Jeff Jacobs in the chat saying he calls it 27.8, so we'll see. He's on his way to the start-finish line, entering the last chicane here.
I think we can expect a 28 on this lap, somewhere in the 28s.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised knowing Max.
Here it comes, up to the line. It's a 3:05.4, just a little off the pace. I'm assuming that was his out lap where he messed up, and he messes up again coming through turn 1. He goes onto the gravel on the outside.
Yeah, of course, if we see him going quicker than Alexei now after this tiny mistake, then we know his lap wasn't optimal. So yeah, we'll see. Although, even though he made a mistake, I still expect him to grab that P1 for now, provisional pole.
On this lap, you think? Interesting.
Max is Max. He's insanely quick, especially in the GT car, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Max is Max. All right,
Yeah.
let's see. So, has the commentator's curse been put on him? We're gonna see.
Yeah,
If
we'll
he
see.
doesn't get pole, yeah, he's gonna come and beat you up.
Probably, yeah. He lives nearby, so who knows? Of course, you can bet some money on him via ARL bet. all
Yeah,
done with Nick's savings.
yeah, everyone, we'd actually like to introduce you to our new series, ARL Fight Night. Members of the staff will be entering the ring every Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, on Saturday we have Bon Robert, the 13-year-old, versus Nicholas Barnsdale, who's 19.
I think I got a good feeling about that one.
I don't
Max
know who
Janssen
I'm
crossed
placing
the
my
line.
bets on.
In a 1:31, but I think his lap time got invalid due to
Who are you placing your bets on, Jim?
James.
Well, when it, either or. Whenever it comes to 1v1s, I'd probably put it on the 19-year-old. But if I'm going for the race, it's looking like it's going to be our leader so far, because it seems like Jensen is struggling to like get a valid lap time, and hopefully he can pull one off in the 11 minutes that we have left in the qualifying. But I think he's just pushing the corners for the chicane on turn 5 or probably turn 7. I can't quite remember which one, but he's definitely pushing it a little bit too much on the curb cutting. He might as well just play it a little bit safe and just try and get at least one time in so that he's not in 6th place. He is seeming fast enough to at least come in, I would say, 3rd position if he just plays his cards right.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what's happening with Max right now. I think he is pushing just a little bit too hard. And these cars, depending on how they're set up, are, I was just going to say, they're typically more understeer than oversteer, as Gergo Balak gets very squirmy on the exit of that corner. But yeah, they can be very understeery. So if you don't get it just right, you can miss the corner. And I think that may be what's happening to Max at the moment, just not getting the front tires to hook up on
As
the
you say
exit.
that, there he goes. Finally gets a lap time and pushes it into 2nd.
Yep. P2 for Max Janssen. So maybe this race will be a little bit more competitive. Maybe we could see a battle for the lead between Kaipinen and Janssen this time.
Looking at the times, it's only 2 milliseconds off the lap leader. And then you've got the 3rd place of Sparkin, who we didn't know was going to be in here or got the name wrong. He's not too far off neither, so there may be a battle on for the three top positions. I think the
Okay, I just want to apologize, everyone. Apparently, they're having trouble hearing us, Jim. So I'm gonna shut up for a second, see if I can play around with my mic, and I'll be back. Stein, please take over for us.
If you're
Yeah.
struggling, I can get myself up, so it's fine. I can go a bit higher.
Yeah, well, Max Janssen doesn't seem to have found a pace yet, which I'm sure of that he will be able to achieve. Of course, it's always difficult when there are a lot of expectations for you to win a race or get a pole position. It can always be some sort of mental game, having some difficulties concentrating maybe. But knowing Max, yeah, he's ice cold. I think when it comes to, as we can see, Gergo Ballo going wide in a lot of corners there. But yes, knowing Max, Max Janssen, he's ice cold. He barely makes any mistakes, and I don't expect him to be bothered by people having high expectations of him. But in the meanwhile, Alexei Kaipinen is still set in P1, which is completely unexpected. But I did expect Max to be up there after 12 minutes of qualifying right now. Also, Sparkle in P3, which is a fairly unknown name for us. I'm not sure if he's on the entry list today, but yeah, we're happy to have him, of course. So we can see Alexei Kuiper now back in the pit. Janis Sparkon, yeah. Yeah, and the gaps are pretty big at the moment, unfortunately. But I think we can see a nice battle for pole position still, because Max Janssen still has 8 minutes to try and beat the time of Alexei Kuiper today. Yeah, and we can see Gergo Ballo 3.6 seconds behind, but yeah, it's still just kind of difficult to for him to seem to find a pace. He's struggling a lot, going wide in certain corners, misbraking. So I hope for him that he's able to find some pace, the Sim Apex driver.
I have to say the surprise of the day is currently the unknown driver in P3.
Yeah.
I don't know where Yanis Sparkon. I don't know where he's come from, but I think that you know who I think that is. I think that's Yanis Orzakowski.
I think so too. Yeah. Because there is someone who signed up under the name of Yanis. So.
Yeah. For the rest of the race, I'm going to treat him like Yanis Orzakowski because I have to guess that's who it is.
Zakowski. Yeah, maybe he just tried to do us a favor because his name isn't the easiest one to pronounce, of course.
Right. Yeah. He's just like, yeah, whatever. Sparkon. Have
Yeah.
fun, guys.
Exactly. So appreciate it. Well, Nick, I can tell you here left up the hill in real life there is a really nice Belgian waffle shop. Delicious waffles. So if you ever visit Zolder, make sure to drop by because yeah, that's a real treat. So
Well, I haven't had lunch yet. You're making me hungry.
I'm very sorry.
Same here.
Hey, Jim, welcome back.
Jim
Yeah, I'm
hasn't
still
had
here.
lunch at 8 p.m. That's kind of worrying.
Yeah,
Or it's not.
I
It's
don't
9
eat.
even. Or 7.
Yeah.
7. Yeah.
7. Yeah, I don't eat.
Oh yeah, no, me neither.
But I was going to ask, as you know this track fairly well, where in the parts of the track are you thinking that the battles are going to be the most interesting, where it's going to be almost wheel to wheel?
All right, thanks, Stijn. Yeah, we'll be looking out for those corners. For
I'm
the
very
battles.
sorry. I wasn't concentrating at the moment. I was slightly distracted.
The awkward silence of me asking a question and
I'm
not
so
getting a
sorry.
reply.
Can you repeat the question, please?
I'm saying, as you know, Zolder fairly well, where
Yeah.
in the corners and the straights or part of the track are you expecting to see the most wheel to wheel action?
Yeah, well, to be fair, I think Zolder isn't. I mean, it's not really a broad circuit. A lot of it's of course it's a really old track, so yeah, it's a narrow circuit with a lot of technical sections, and even like the start finish straight is fairly short. It's gonna be difficult to overtake there, but I think the best overtaking opportunity is trying to stay as close in the section as Janus is driving through the section now. Get a really good exit out of this corner and try to throw it up the inside or send it up the inside in the next chicane. Yeah, after this corner. But yeah, I think it's gonna be difficult, and especially there will be a limited slipstream effect here because of the short straight. So yeah, overtaking is gonna be difficult, I guess. We can see Janus letting by Alexei Kaipinen.
And in other news, Max Janssen has taken provisional pole position with a 129.25 over Alexei Kaipinen. So it took him 16 minutes, but he's finally on top once again.
So he must have heeded the advice of the commentators, even though he can't hear us, just to ease back a little bit, and maybe he's just working out the track limits and just trying to be right on the edge. But even then, Kaipinen is only 183 milliseconds behind him, so there is time in the 40 minutes to have a really, really interesting battle between these two drivers, and Sparko not being too far off. If Jensen and Kaipinen end up battling, Sparken can capitalize on them having to maybe go outside of each other, going around corners. So I still think that first, second, and third is going to be a really, really interesting battle through this race.
Yeah, absolutely. If
really
they
looks like
battle. Just a second. Apologies.
Also today, seems like Robert Bond or Bond Robert is kind of slightly disappointing. I know he doesn't like it when I would say that, but yeah, 1.3 seconds off at the moment. Of course, Bond, 13-year-old driver, very talented. Really quick when he's driving in rFactor 2, especially in the LMP2 car. But yeah, he doesn't seem to be able to find the pace in the GT3 today in his Audi.
Yeah, and normally you'd expect to see him a bit further up the grid at this point, usually within a second of the leader, even though it's someone as talented as Max Janssen. You usually expect to see Robert a bit closer than he is now, but there's still a 40-minute race to go. So
Yeah, exactly. I've experienced myself a lot of the times where I was quite off the pace during a qualifying session, but especially when you get in the zone and get used to the braking points, corners, especially when you haven't practiced much, you can still improve a lot during the race. So yeah, we'll see if there is going to be an interesting battle between Amir Hazek and Bon Robert. And for now, there are 2 minutes left in this session. Max Janssen still on provisional pole, Alexei Kaipinen following him behind with 2 tenths, but yeah, close gap. So in the race, we'll hopefully see a fun battle between these two drivers. But yeah, we shouldn't forget that Max Janssen is a really experienced and really talented driver who has been league racing for a long time. So I don't expect him to give away that much time to Alexei Kaipinen during the race.
yeah, I agree. It will, even though the pace seems closer than last week or 2 weeks ago. Sorry, I think it is Max Janssen. It will still be difficult to pass for Kuipen. As we were talking about Robert before. Sorry to cut you off, Stijn. As we were talking about Robert before, he actually did go within 1 second. He is now in 4th position. He overtakes Amir Havik with I think that was about a 3/10 improvement. And we have 1 minute to go in qualifying, so if they're on a lap right now, they have the time to finish it. If they're not, well, it is over. Mixon Mortiferum sitting on a 31.3. He'll be looking for some improvement. The ARL Formula 3 champion in the nice light blue livery.
Yeah. I think the only explanation for him being 2 seconds off the pace in P7 is a lack of practice. I think, Miksa just drives for fun. I think in this championship, normally he's a really dedicated driver who practices a lot, gets in a lot of laps, although he mostly doesn't need it because he's lightning fast. But today 2 seconds off, we'll see. Maybe he'll improve something in a race, because and maybe even in qualifying, because there are just 4 seconds left. Is he able to get a lap? No, he crosses the finish line, the first driver to finish, and he improves his time,
He
1.4
did improve.
seconds off.
Now here comes Lucas Krundzen. He is currently trailing the qualifying session. He does not improve. Well, he does improve, but he does not gain any positions. Alexei Kaipinen looks like he still has time to finish his current lap. As does Yanis Sparkon, who's coming through the final few corners now. Into the corner name that... Oh, no, this is Jackie Xbox onto the final straight. Yanis Sparkon, what can he do? Can he snatch P2? No, he cannot. No improvement for Yanis Sparkon on the final lap, and I believe that is the grid sorted. We'll get down to the grid in a while, but Max Janssen has taken pole position out of very little surprise to anybody.
Yeah. As we can see, by the way, we saw Mixa Mortiferum surprised about not driving his own car, so that could be why he is 1.4 seconds off. Maybe he had made a setup for a different car and has trouble adjusting maybe the setup or his driving style to the car he's driving in now, which is the Aston Martin.
That's a great point, actually. If he's not used to the car, the GTEs, you would think they're very similar, but they handle very differently. And if he's in a car that he's not used to, that could very well explain why he's off the pace. In fact, if he's in a different car that he's used to, I'm pretty impressed that he's only 1.4 seconds off the pace, because they are, very different to drive.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. Maybe he'll be able to adjust some more during the race and gain some positions, at least what I suspect. So you can see the field consists out of 3 Audis and 3 Aston Martins, and just 1 Ferrari and just 1 McLaren. So mainly Audi and Aston Martin dominated field, with the Audis doing the best out of all the brands right now.
Session starting in about 3 minutes. We will have a formation lap and a rolling start for this event. No standing starts for the GTE field. We do that in F3, but we want to avoid the chaos that typically ensues because of that. Although we definitely we know that it can happen on a rolling start as well.
Yeah. Also, I'm pretty sure the warm-up lap won't be a full warm-up lap, but the green will be waved somewhere, maybe at the end of the first sector or at the beginning of the second sector. I'm not sure, but I remember it being like this in Spa. So yeah, we'll see
call.
how that goes.
Good call, Stijn. Thank you for telling me that, because I would have I would have looked like a fool when I'm like saying like, oh, maybe they're still in the formation lap, maybe they're not.
Yeah, I thought it might be good to mention.
Thank you.
Well, also, Nick, do you prefer a standing start or a rolling start yourself?
I prefer a standing start because in sim racing, starts are kind of the only thing I'm good at. I'm very good at starts. I don't know why. I think it's because it's a very linear thing. Like, you know where to put the throttle and you know pretty much what to do when the lights go out. But after that, everyone else can take the corners faster than me. So I much prefer a standing start because it allows me to kind of exploit it. What about yourself?
Well, I've always been sim racing without a clutch, so standing starts are never really my thing. My starts are always really awful. I will always lose at least 2 positions during the start, at least most of the time, especially in the Formula Hybrid car in Assetto Corsa. But yeah, I think the most difficult part about a standing start is, of course, you need to kind of have the good timing and the luck to be on throttle when green gets waved, you know. Because if you don't, then other people have way better run, especially on a straight. You know, you lose a few maybe even like a full second to the guys behind, so that can be fatal, especially when people are slipstreaming as much as during a start. You know, so yeah. But I get your point. Yeah.
Yeah,
If
for
you're
sure.
good at
Jim,
it at a stunning start, then
Jim, I believe you race as well sometimes. What do you prefer?
Yeah, I tend not. An interesting thing is I don't tend to do GT3. I've been doing a bit of F1 racing, in which it's like 100% still. And even though I am terrible at starts because I run no traction control and no ABS, I do prefer it because it just puts you in the mindset of like you're doing a race. Like a rolling start, you're kind of concentrating on where everybody is and all the rest of it. Whereas when you're on the grid and you're doing a standing, I just feel like you're more concentrating on the car of like, right, I need to be in the right gear, even though it's first, but I need to be right RPMs and like when am I changing gear? And I think you just concentrate more on the car, and it feels more like a race than a rolling start in a control way, at least for me.
Yeah, you get the idea, like, oh, here we go, here we go, here we go. You psych yourself up for it a little bit.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, the session is about to get underway with the formation lap, or formation half lap, I should say. Let's take a look down the grid now. Max Janssen on pole. Alexei Kaipinen starts from second. Yanis Sparkon or Orzakowski starts from third, then followed by Robert Pawn in fourth. Amir Havak is right in the midfield in fifth. Then Mixa Mortiferum, after his qualifying, is in sixth. Gergo Balak starts seventh, and trailing early will be Lucas Krunzen. There's your top 8 for the Ace Racing League Zolder 40 minutes.
Give it all you got.
And the flag goes down, and they're away. Max Janssen keeps it into turn 1. Alexei Kaipinen coming under pressure from Yanis Sparkon. Robert Pawn in behind. He's going to challenge for P3, and he looks like he's got it now. A bit of lag, and there's collision. Robert Pawn is off into the gravel. A bit of lag there. I don't know exactly what happened, but it looks like Robert Pawn was on the outside, and he was hit by Yanis Sparkon, and now he's off. Looks like he'll be trailing the field early.
We may be able to
Max.
replay it all.
Sorry, Jim, we're having a little bit of trouble hearing you. I don't know what's going on. Could be a Discord problem.
I know, again. I'm just saying we might be able to get an instant replay on that crash due to the lag and be able to see what happened. Or see what happened to the camera operator.
Yeah, that would be beneficial, but I'm not sure I'm not sure if that's possible. We were having trouble with replays last week, so it'll be interesting to see if we can get them.
So you can see Mixa Mortiferum has gained 1 spot on the start. Of course, due to Paul Robert spinning out now right off the gearbox of Amir Hazek. So Amir managed to keep Mixa behind at the start. But yeah, he's really closing in on him. And of course, with Mixa's experience and pace, it's going to be difficult for Amir Hazek to defend his position, especially coming into the next sector with a few straights. If Mixa gets a good run out of the corners, then yeah, we can already see him gaining a lot. So yeah, that's going to be interesting, the battle for the race.
Another thing we can see is the top 2 already breaking away after just 1 lap. Janssen and Kuipinen are 6/10. They have 6/10 between them, and then it's 2.4 seconds to the next car of Janus Sparkon. But then that midfield battle is currently quite close, but no wheel-to-wheel action as of yet, other than the action that saw Robert Pawn in the gravel. So it'd be interesting to see if we can see some long-term battles as the race goes on. As of yet, nothing much to speak of. Max Janssen leads the way, 5/10 ahead of Kuipinen, so Kuipinen actually closed in the gap from the last split we saw.
Yeah, normally I think Max Janssen prefers to lead. He's ice cold, as I said before. He won't get much distracted by someone in his mirror, so yeah, we'll see. I expect Max to pick up the pace any time now and pull away from Alex Kuipinen. Of course, the gap was really small between the two during the qualifying session. So yeah, hopefully for the sake of the neutral watcher, we hope Alexi can hang on in there and maybe get even a bit closer to try a move onto Max Janssen.
So on to the 3rd lap now, I believe. 2 laps gone and 3 minutes gone, and Kuipinen is closing in on Max Janssen, so he may make you eat your words yet, Stijn. He's only 4/10 away now.
Yeah, he's closing in. Of course, Alex Kuipinen has the benefit of the slipstream, especially in Sector 1, where there are quite some straights. Of course, in the GT cars, dirty air isn't as much as a big thing as it is in Formula cars. As you can see, Alexi literally kind of weaved to the outside to show himself in the mirror of Max Janssen, who is probably feeling pressured right now by the Finnish driver. As you can see, it takes a way better line through the chicane. Kind of a bad exit by Max Janssen, and I think he even managed to get a better exit there.
Yeah, it's very close at the moment. It looks like nobody's really gaining an advantage at this point in the battle. Alexi's not closing up enough to have a look, but Max Janssen's not pulling away enough to break that slipstream and then eventually start, going off into the sunset as he did in the last race. No change in the order from previously, although Robert Pawn is slowly closing in on Gergo Balak, the Sim Apex teammates. Pawn is now less than a second behind the 7th place man, Balak. Onto the next lap. Look at how wide they go, using every inch of the track into the turn 1.
Yeah, they are taking some really good lines here. As you can see on the outside line, we can see some rubber on the outside of the track. So yeah, drivers need to make sure they stay on the clean part of the track, not the dirty part, because yeah, something you don't want in high-speed corners is dirty tires.
Yeah, there's not too much grip out there either. Now we get on to Mixa Mortiferum closing up on Amir Havak. He could look to have a move sometime into the later sections of the lap, coming into the section that I'm not even going to try to pronounce again. I'm satisfied with my first one. I'm just going to rest on my laurels. But Mortiferum may have a look into the slower section of the track now. He does not able to close up enough. I think you have to be about within 2/10 to try a move. In the GTE cars, Mortiferum is still 4/10 behind. Now into this tiny little curve, which is called, help me out here,
Really
Ring.
by Mixa.
Yeah, couldn't. Nothing came of it though. He tried to break as late as possible to gain time, but it looks like it's backfired a little bit as he's now 6 tenths behind.
And as I said before, I think the battle between Jensen and Amir is going to be an interesting one because as they're battling it out and trying to psych each other out, you've got Sparkman just behind, and as they're going to be taking the line, struggling and battling, I think Sparkman's just kind of holding back, waiting for maybe one tiny mistake between the two drivers to then be able to capitalize. He is in a fairly decent position as he's got a fairly decent gap between first and second, and also fourth is fairly behind as well. As long as he's concentrating on his driving and taking the laps nice and easy, there may be mistakes to come if this battle for first and second carries on for the next 30 odd minutes. It may capitalize right at the end due to impatience between these two drivers to get even closer.
Yeah, for sure. Sparkon could be on for something special if they lose a ton of time in their battle, or if, in the alternative case, if the battle goes all wrong, if it ends in tears. I'm sure Yanis Sparkon eyes will light up as he sees one of the pink or red cars in the gravel. Looks like that's not an issue at the moment because Alexei seems to be biding his time very well. He hasn't gone for any premature moves yet, and I think he knows that he can close up on Janssen, but he just needs to dig deep and find a little more pace and finally get the move done. However, at this point, although he gets a much better run than Janssen through turn 1, had a look around the outside into turn 2, nothing doing there. Janssen has the better line, and there's one tiny bit of excitement shredded to pieces as Janssen just puts him away, takes any thought out of his mind as he drives better through that section.
Yeah, something that surprised me a lot is, or not surprises me, but a lot of respect for Alexei for keeping his head cool, because, of course, you know, Max Jansen is a really fast driver, and you need to really stay right up his gearbox to be able to make an overtake, and you know you don't have much opportunities, because as soon as Max will start to pick up the pace, he'll be gone, so Alexei knows that he has a limited amount of opportunities, but he still managed to keep his head cool and stay right up his gearbox, so a lot of respect for him.
And as James was mentioning earlier, because of that little tango they just did, Yanis Sparkon gained 4 tenths. He's lost them again. I think he might have made a mistake at one point. But when they were battling, Yanis Sparkon did actually make up a lot of time. So if they go side by side for a significant amount of time, we could see Yanis Sparkon enter their mirrors.
Yeah, very true. I've had a race myself where I was, I think, 4 seconds behind with 5 laps to go. And I caught up to a group of 3 cars who were battling, so should be no issue if they start fighting. Indeed, driving side by side, then still be no issue to catch up at least 2 seconds for Sparkle.
And I just feel so an interesting thing in the chat, which is a really good point, that he thinks that Max's tires might be overheating due to the extreme weather of the track being 50 degrees. We talked about the drivers, but we forgot to mention about the tires and the temperature. With these two drivers battling it out, going for these corners extremely hard, they are faster than the rest of the drivers.
Indeed, the tires are a consideration that I guess kind of slipped to my mind up until this point. But with these tight corners, as Kaipinen has to take avoiding action to that corner, looks like he had a lot of overspeed on Janssen, actually. Yeah, the tires are a big factor in any driving sim. But today, at a track with a lot of tight corners, and Max Janssen goes deep into the hairpin, gets a better exit though, unfortunately, so no move possible for Kaipinen there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is very possible that his tires are at this point overheating, and if Kaipinen is keeping his cooler, that can be an advantage not just in the short term to be able to close up to Janssen, but also possibly to pit later and have fresher tires toward the end of the race and not be hurt too much by a possible Janssen undercut.
Yeah, as we can see, Alexei Kaipinen had a really bad exit going onto the start-finish straight, but made him lose 0.5 of a second. So gap is growing now in favor of Max Jansen. Almost 1 second now, so yeah, Alexei kind of needs to really stay concentrating. I mean, it's difficult driving behind a driver who's so fast to keep your concentration going. Yeah, it's really a mental game if you ask me at this point. I mean, they drive the same pace, so yeah, how to overtake the car in front of you. Don't make any mistakes.
Something to note, and I was just going to bring that up, Robert Pawn is now in the pit lane. Very early pit stop for him. I think he might have had damage from the earlier collision going through the first few corners. Unfortunately for him, now he's going to have to be on worn tires towards the end of the race, but I think he just wanted to stretch it out. Even though he had the pace on Krunden, he was obviously on his best pace. I think he did have damage. And Janssen very slow through there again, although he does get a better exit every time, so I think maybe his line is actually just a little bit better than Kuipinen, even though it doesn't necessarily look like it. But yeah, I think Robert Pond had some damage, and he's just now fixing it so that he can go to the end of the race and that's the tires.
Yeah, of course he was also quite some time behind, so maybe this gives him some clean air to gain on the guys in front, so maybe it will help him out. And yeah, as we can see, Alexei Kuipinen still pressuring Max Jansen, who gave away 5/10 during 1 lap, so it seems like Max Jansen is finally starting to notice that there is an angry Finnish guy somewhere in his mirror.
As John Malkovich says, my favorite movie, kid's got alligator blood, can't get rid of him.
That's a lovely quote.
I think so. Yeah, it's Alexei Kuipinen now with the alligator blood, and Max Jansen can't get rid of him. He's now only 3/10 behind Max Jansen's purple Audi. An incredible drive so far.
Yeah, personally, I always prefer following, so I don't know what Max prefers, but we can see him taking a kind of adventurous line, as Nick described it before, through the chicane. But yeah, it seems like Max Jansen is really having trouble staying cool at this point.
Every time through that corner, Kuipinen is dancing around in Janssen's mirrors, only for Janssen to just pull away again. It must be pretty frustrating for the Finn, because with the line he's taking, he does close up through the corner, but he doesn't have the traction to be able to keep up with Max on the exit.
Yeah, very true. Of course, in the low-speed corners, the 4/10s are really small when it comes to real-life distance in meters. So yeah, on the straights, it might seem like they're far apart, but they're so close onto each other. So yeah, I think especially in the slow-speed corners, Max will really notice that car of Alexei Kuipinen being in his mirror. But yeah, so far, not too much big mistakes yet by Max. So
and I'm just concentrating on Sparkin, who's now near enough, just 2 seconds behind Kuipinen and Jansen. So he is slowly catching up as these two are dancing around with each other and concentrating on each other's mirrors. And Sparkin is just slowly, on the corners at least, and like just gaining bit by bit as the laps go on.
Yeah, credit has to go to him. He's been driving very well to keep up with two incredible drivers. He's had very solid pace today.
Yeah, as you predicted, James, indeed. He's catching up pretty fast with, I think, at 5 minutes he got up 1 second. So, yeah, the striking distance between him and Alexei Kuipinen is getting less and less. Maybe we even have a case here where Max Jansen is actually holding up Alexei Kuipinen, because if you look at the race pace of Sparkon, he's driving better lap times than Alexei Kuipinen and Max Jansen. So yeah, I think Alexei really wants to get past Max any soon now, because he'll be pushed back into Sparkon real soon. As we can see, the gap has shrunk to 1.6 seconds, so he's really on the march to Alexei Kuipinen now, Yannis Sparkon.
Guys, my commentating. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm just saying we've now got another driver in the pits who has, I believe, just retired.
Yeah, Mixta Muniferum retired, unfortunately.
Interesting. Wonder what happened.
Maybe he had heat stroke.
That
Maybe.
could very well be. Is it how is it in the UK, Jim?
Considering I'm in the attic, it's fairly hot.
Okay, fair enough. It's
Would a sauna be a
28.
good description, maybe?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
it was about 35 when I was in bed last night. So yeah,
Yeah, we'll take into account that it could be a heat stroke.
So disappointing end to the race for Mason Mortiferum. He of course scores no points. But guys, my commentating, the section of my brain responsible for commentating is getting very excited because I smell a three-way battle for the lead coming here.
Yeah, Sparkle is getting closer and closer, and the gap is only 1.3 seconds now, and waiting to
I think Sparkle
for it to be updated again.
Well.
Yeah, you're totally right. An undercut, that's gonna be interesting. But we hoped for an on-track battle, of course. But yeah, since Giannis is driving faster and faster, it makes more sense for him to pit now, get some clean air, and overtake the cars in front of him off track. So we could see a change of leaders real soon. With Giannis being the leader, the virtual leader, at some point.
I gotta admire the strategy call from Giannis. I think that's really smart. And Max
Johnson went
Janssen
off.
made a mistake. Yeah. We're going to a replay, it looks like.
So he's taking the corner fairly nice. Gonna kind of oversteer, I reckon. He's been struggling. There was an inch before with a little bit of oversteer, and I think that's what's happened. Them tires have just given in a little bit with the 52 degrees.
Yeah. So that's the championship leader into the gravel. That's
I
something.
think,
I tell you what, I think Sparkon is going to be jumping up and down in his chair.
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
him winning the race gets more and more realistic now. In his first race in ARL.
You know what I think happened? I believe, although I may be incorrect, I think Janssen's tire may have been on the grass under braking, which in a driving simulator just means you're gone. Bye bye.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that was the case, but that looked characteristic of what the spin looked like.
Yeah, very true. Of course, he also went really wide, and what you do when you go wide is apply more brake pressure, correct it more, and of course you saw him losing the back. So that's also what could have happened. Just a bit too much braking and overcorrecting. Because of course, if your suspension goes down, it goes too much down at the front, and at the rear it stays like a bit higher, then your rear end will basically overtake the front end of the car. So that's also something that could have happened with Max Janssen.
Perhaps we'll talk to him after the race and see if we can get an explanation, although I'm not sure if that's possible. But either way, Alexei Kaipinen had been in his mirrors all race, kept it consistent, kept his nose clean, and was patient, and he has been rewarded as Max Janssen spins into the gravel and Kaipinen takes an undisputed lead of the race. I believe Max Janssen may have gone into the pits now, although I'm not entirely sure.
It seems like it, yeah. But of course, yeah, what you just said, we can give a lot of credit to Alexei Kaipinen, because I think we can really say that he forced Max into a mistake. So, of course, you can say this is a clean overtake by staying within a second of him lap after lap and showing him in his mirrors. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Max made... Oh, sorry, go ahead, James. Do the replay.
Right. It just seems like he's having still hasn't taken a bit, so it looks like he's still struggling with them front tires. I think I was kind of correct in my assumption of having a little bit too much of the oversteer. As the tires are now getting worn, it may be an idea for him to go into the pits and change them from the aggressive driving that Alex Kaipinen has put him into.
Yeah, very true indeed. And of course, the last thing you want is overheating tires. Combined with worn tires, as we can see, he struggles a lot through the corners. He can't keep it in a straight line, so it would be smart for Max Janssen to pit now, since he actually lost 3 positions to the guys in front of him. Of course, it's kind of difficult to see now what his pit strategies are, who pitted and who didn't. Would be
it is looking like Sparkon is pitted and Fun is pitted, and now you've got 3 of the other drivers that are now in the pits at the same time, with Johnson, who has also pitted, because you can see, because they go green. I'll just tell you that much.
Yeah, so that means he's actually been in P5 after the mistake he made. So he has some catching up to do right now. So we can see Amir Hazek in the Ferrari 438 driving in P2 now, the Malaysian driver who has been driving in the Endurance Championship and the Formula 3 Championship as well. Really experienced driver, fast guy. So yeah, of course, started in P5, but he stayed out of trouble where other drivers didn't stay out of trouble, and right now he's up for a podium. So he's doing a really good job today.
Who else is up for a podium is Gergo Balak, who is, I think, effectively P3, although he's been demoted to P4 now. I believe Yannis Sparkman overtook him on track there.
Yeah, starting in last position. I think neither of us expected him to be that high up the grid after, halfway through the race.
Kaipinen is now in the pits.
So we now have Sparkinen, who is now in third position with the Kaipinen who is also in the pit. So if Sparkinen can just essentially push it from this lap, get a really, really decent lap through the start-stop straight, they have a chance of taking first place and potentially holding it, as his tires will be warm. They may be in the perfect conditions.
Yeah,
It could be very close as he comes down the start-finish line to see where exactly Alexei Kaipinen is going to emerge.
Yeah. Also, we see,
Go ahead.
Yeah. Also, we see his Bon Robert pitted really early in the race to repair his damage and maybe create some clean air for himself, which paid off because the driver who was in P last, Bon Robert, is now up into P4, so he's doing a great job. And we can see Sparkon overtaking Alexei Kaipinen there.
Sparkon is in the lead of the race.
Yeah, that's something we didn't expect before this race.
Well, James did. So apparently James did. He called Sparkon the entire way as a candidate for the win.
Yeah, he seems to be right until now, and now we'll see if he will be able to keep Alexei Kaipinen behind, because of course Alexei has been following Max Jansen and forcing him into mistakes. So yeah, it seems like Sparkon really needs to keep his head cool and try to finish his race in a clean way right now. Don't make too much mistakes. And of course, we've seen overtaking is difficult on this track. So yeah, if Janus keeps driving this way, he's really up for a win today.
More than half the race gone now, so let's give a rundown of the running order, which is it's just been turned on its head, hasn't it? Yannis Sparkon is leading the 40 minutes of Zolder. Alexei Kaipinen 0.6 behind now in second. Doesn't look like he has too much pace over Sparkon, so it's not going to be just a piece of cake for Kaipinen. Havoc is now in third after starting lower down the grid. I think he started 5th or 6th. Robert Pons started 5th or 6th also, I believe, and he is in 4th. Then we go to Gergo Balak, who looked like he may be in contention for a podium, but now he's back into 5th. Lucas Krunten, I believe, started last, is now in 6th, and Max Jansen is still in the pit lane. I believe he may be retiring in frustration after leading and then making a few mistakes. I don't know if he'll be returning to the track today, but
yeah, of course, he already made his mandatory pit stop. So yeah, it seems like he has indeed given up. Looking at the fact that he's 2 laps behind now, so that means he has been in the pit for a while. Yeah, of course, as we've seen, I remember Luca Den Hartog going off in Eau Rouge last week, and after his spin and crash, he had a lot of difficulties keeping his car on track. So I suspect Max underestimated his overheated tires, pushed it too much and went off again, which probably caused some frustration for him.
You know, I think what he's doing is, if you retire, as you guys know in Ace Racing League, you don't score any points. So what I think he's doing is just sitting in the pit lane until the end of the race so he can score the points for 7th. I'm not sure how entirely legal that is, but we'll have to have our steward look at it after, because I'm pretty sure he's just going to sit there until the end of the race to collect the points for 7th.
But also, I think to finish a race, you need to finish the race, if you know what I mean. So he needs to start cross the start-finish line. As long as he doesn't cross the start-finish line while the checkered flag is waved, I don't think he's able to score any points. But maybe we'll see him go out at the end of the race again. Yeah, could be an interesting tactic by him.
I would have thought, if I'm gonna sit in the pit lane, you might as well drive, right? I would probably just go out again, even though I'm gonna be in 5th or 6th or 7th. I'm not Max Janssen though, so I can't tell you what's going on inside his head.
Yeah, you never know what is going on. Of course, this could be either kind of spice up the championship or make it more boring. Yeah, it's gonna be difficult because I'm pretty sure if Alexi, if it stays this way and Alexi scores either a win or P2, he'll definitely pass Max Janssen in the standings.
Speaking of that, he had a look down the inside of Janus Spark on into that corner, but thought better of it. Gotta, again, just take a look at how patient he's being. He could have dived it there, but it probably would have ended poorly. But yeah, he's been incredibly sporting today, and sportsmanship is one of the things we want to see in ARL. So applause to him for his efforts this week.
Of course. ARL wants to be a competitive environment, but also a really friendly one with a nice community. It's really important. So kudos to Alexi Kaipanen.
I think Alexi Kaipanen is doing extremely clean racing and being very patient because he's put into account the actual track. So he's not wanting to push too hard. Probably he already knows previously. He's probably thinking that if he's wearing these tires out, can he do the same that he did in Max Janssen? Just push him and make having this mistake out going crazy.
Yeah,
sorry about that, James. We're actually having a little trouble hearing you right now.
Goes up the inside off and he
misbrakes.
Almost goes off and takes the.
Okay, we're gonna go to replay now.
I should sound better, I hope. But it seems like he just tried cutting into the inside and tried taking the corner a little bit too hard, as I was previously just talking about it. You might not have heard, but I was trying to say that he was very patient, coming into account the track temperature, to just wait and hopefully have Spark and make a mistake the same way Max Janssen did. But I think his impatience is slightly running out by the looks of the things through the replay.
Yeah, he's been patient for a long time. He's been patient for almost 30 minutes now, and I think he might have been getting just a little frustrated and wanting to get the move done because he does have a little more pace over Janus, I think. So he could have just thought, I really want to make the overtake now. I want to have a little bit of a fun battle, and he misjudged the corner.
Yeah, I'm glad both drivers made it out alive, but yeah, of course Alexi is running out of opportunities with just 11 minutes to go. If he keeps driving like this, Janus, yeah, Alexi won't be able to pass him, especially at this track. So yeah, I hope it's also a mental game, of course, going. And there is a bit of bumper drafting going on there.
And look at Sparkon weaving around. He's trying to keep Alexi Kaipanen behind as we go into the chicane. And he does do so, but only after Kaipanen had no choice but to hit the rear of Sparkon. He had too much overspeed, and now he's right on his gearbox coming through the right-hander and the short left of Boots.
Yeah.
On the outside. He decides to switch around, maybe go for the outside, doesn't really get it. Sparkon finally gets that decent line through there, a little bit better than Kaipanen. I think Kaipanen has got the speed, but Sparkon just, there's not enough track to get in the way of Sparkon.
Yeah, exactly.
Great defending so far.
Also, of course, that move up the inside must have messed with the concentration of Sparkon, maybe caused some frustration. So yeah, we'll see if after that little incident, Sparkon, if he will be able to keep his head cool, because that's of course the most important thing at this moment. Keep your head cool for 9 minutes and you'll win the race for both drivers.
Exactly.
Keep it this way.
Exactly, and Alexi seems to have the hotter head at the moment. He'll have to regain that focus we saw earlier if he's going to pass Janus Sparkon, and Janus Sparkon, like you said, will have to keep cool for 9 more minutes to see the checkered flag.
It may be a case of Kaipanen just not liking the fact that Sparkon was in third position by this time, and then all of a sudden is now gained into first position, it might just be stressing him out that Kaipinen spent all that time battling with Johnson, and Sparkinen just with ease took first place. Many a thing that could be running through Kaipinen's head that's just stressing him out as he's just looking at the clock, watching the 9 minutes go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think Alexi might be thinking, I've done all the work, and now
Yeah.
I'm back in second again. Yeah, I can see
Yeah,
it.
to be honest, I wonder if Alexi even noticed that Sparkin was closing up that much and went into the pit because, yeah, of course, he could have predicted that this undercut would happen when he saw Danu Sparkon going into the pit, but I don't think he saw it. I think he was so occupied with battling Max Janssen that he forgot to check behind.
And of course, all credit to Giannis for his strategy. The undercut was the way to go. He did the undercut and he took the lead. So great driving and a superior strategy call from Giannis that has now found him 8 minutes away from victory.
Yeah, I agree. Of course, you don't only need to drive with your hands, but also with your head, if you know what I mean. And a lot of
Wow.
respect that he can do that during a race.
That was a nice turn of phrase there, Stijn. I approve.
Yeah, thanks.
Now into the chicane. I don't know which chicane this is. They have 3 of them, so pardon me. That was... I can't actually tell because I don't have the whole track map.
It was the kleine chicane, which means the small chicane, translated from Dutch to English.
Thanks, Stijn. I was wondering if you would bring that up.
Yeah, well, I did,
thought-
so...
Thanks.
You guess well. You guess right.
Now you have another look. Kaipinen is getting really impatient now. He so wants to get by Giannis Sparkon. I think he thinks he deserves the win at this point. He's just had the pace all day. He's kept his cool other than that one moment of weakness. But guess what? You don't deserve the win until you pass the leading car. So
Yeah.
he has some work to do still. With 7 minutes to go, that's about, what is that, 4 laps? That's about 4 laps, 5 laps maybe.
Yeah, true. Yeah, of course, we shouldn't forget that Alexi Kaipinen has scored a lot of podiums, but he never scored a win in ARL, so that must be, that must be bothering him too, seeing Janus Sparkan, who is a rookie, here going off with a potentially win, while he's
That's
driving
true.
for such a long time and not being able to score a win yet. This is his chance, so yeah, he's running out of opportunities. If he wants to take the victory, he needs to get a move done real soon.
He's kind of the Nico Hülkenberg of ARL. He's just
Alexi
been...
Kaipinen loses it there.
Oh, and now that's going to give crucial breathing room to Giannis Sparkon. That's about a second gap, I think. A big mistake from Kaipinen, and that could be his chance at the win out the window as he gets very loose on the exit of the chicane and the entrance to the very complicated sector name. And the battle for first could well and truly be over now. He's 2 seconds behind with only 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, of course, as we kind of expected, Alexi was pushing a lot. Janus got into his head. And like I said before, you need to keep your head cool, and I think at this point Alexi Kaipinen failed to do that, and made a mistake that cost him 1.5 seconds. So he needs to be able to gain back those 1.5 seconds within 5 minutes, and then of course also needs to get a move done. So yeah, the chances of him winning this race has really shrunk with just the one mistake. So yeah, if Janus keeps driving this way, he should be able to hang on to the win today.
Could be, and I believe this is Janis Orzakowski. I think he drove in the first race, and I believe he drove in endurance. So I think in only his 3rd or 4th ARL race, he could be a race winner.
Yeah, amazing. Performance by him today. Really unexpected, I think, but yeah, he stayed out of the trouble. Got a really good strategy call, and managed to make 2 off-track overtakes. So really well done by him.
The phrase off-track overtakes kind of makes it sound like he cut the corner to make the overtake.
Yeah, he went through the paddock.
Yeah. Took a helicopter to the other side of the circuit.
Exactly.
Well, no matter how he got there, he's still in the lead. But crucially, Kaipinen has closed up 1 second now in the last minute and a half. So
Yeah,
it's not over yet.
no, it's really showing the pace that Alexei Kaipinen actually got. But well, I think especially in this circuit, you really need to be a lot faster per lap to be able to overtake someone on track. Because as long as Yannis Sparkon nails the exits of every corner, it's gonna be difficult for Alexei Kaipinen to slipstream past him, because the only way to pass someone here is when someone makes a mistake or when you get a really good exit out of the corner, and it's gonna be really tough because Janus isn't as we can see, he's a good driver, so if he's been keeping his head cool all race long, and for him, I hope it won't be too hard to keep his head cool for 3 more minutes, but we'll see.
I think what could be coming into play here is Sparkon's earlier undercut may now be coming back to him, because Kaipinen will have maybe 1 or 2 lap fresher tires, so that could be helping Kaipinen close up. His tires are a bit fresher.
Yeah.
And as we saw earlier against Janssen, he was keeping them fairly cool. So I think what's happening right now is Sparkon's tires are getting the better of him, and that means we're going to have a very spicy final lap, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't even think of that, of course, because he pitted a few laps earlier. He's gonna have some more worn tires at the end of the race, but yeah, we'll see. Of course, these are the crucial last minutes of the race. In my opinion, those last minutes are always the hardest to yeah.
Should be 2 laps to go now, so 1 more time around, and then after that, 1 final lap, and the checkered flag will be raised. So
Yeah.
Sparkon needs to hold on to this 7/10 gap for just 2 more laps of the Zolder circuit. And you can see his lines are getting a little bit more conservative. He didn't dare go outside and touch that curb with the worn tires. So
Yeah.
I think that's part of Kaipinen's current advantage, that he can maximize the exit of each corner, and Sparkon maybe just can't.
Yeah, exactly. And just also looking at the track temperature of 51 degrees. Yeah, of course, the hotter the track, not too hot, of course, but most of the time the more grip you have, but also the more friction and the quicker your tires wear. So
Yeah, the tires are melting right now.
yeah, exactly. That's the best way to describe it. So as we can see, yeah, you can see the back end of the Audi of Sparkman struggling at the exit of the corners. Alexei Kaipinen just 3/10 behind. It's gonna be one hell of a final lap here at Zolder.
He's closed up massively, as we've been talking over the past 30 seconds. He's 3/10 away now. The rest of the field just well and truly sorted. Havok, Balak, Pawn, Krunden, and Janssen are... it's going to be pretty much no change. Krunden has closed up to Pawn a little bit, but it would be a stretch to have an overtake. We're on to the final lap of the race now, I believe. I don't think there's a white flag in ACC, but it has to be now. There's no way they can do a lap in 45 seconds, yeah. And Sparkon has the upper hand going into the final lap, the final 9 corners of the race.
Yeah, and yeah, we're gonna see what's gonna happen. Of course, Alexei Kaipinen can try to do an all or nothing move, but he also should keep in mind that Max Janssen is in P7, so if he keeps it this way, he'll take the championship lead anyway. So yeah, I don't think it would be a good idea to make an all or nothing move and maybe risk a penalty. Yeah, drop him back a lot of places. So
right. But here comes the checkered flag. Time hits 0, and Sparkon and Kaipinen are going to do battle through the final few corners. I think that was the Klein chicane. Now coming on to Butz, the long left. No, I must have it wrong, because Butz is the left-hander. No, they're coming through. Okay, so it must be the part of the track map I can't see. They're coming through the final few corners now. The Terlamenbok complex. Thank you. Onto one of the final straights. Kaipinen's gonna look up the inside, and he's got to think better of it through the Yaki X-Bot. Now onto the final straight. It's gonna be Yannis Sparkon to win the 40 minutes of Zolder by just a few tenths. The final gap is 4 tenths of a second. Amir Havoc, after a solid drive, is going to come home in third. Darko Balak is going to be fourth, it looks like, with just... I think his race is already over, he's a lap behind. Robert Hahn would be fifth. Krunden sixth. And Janssen 12 laps behind. I don't exactly know what's going on with him. I'm not sure if he'll be given the points for seventh. Darko Balak crosses the line finally.
Yeah, and as we can see, Alex Nikaipinen immediately disconnected from the race, so we can imagine him being quite frustrated after driving such an outstanding race, but losing it through due to a strategy call.
Stijn, Jim, give us your thoughts on the race.
Well, I'm just amazed that I called Sparkinen and he did so well. That's what surprised me the most. And especially with Johnson as well, I was not expecting him to essentially come in last. That threw me off completely. So them two have really surprised me, with obviously Sparkinen coming first with an amazing strategy, to be honest. It would be interesting to see if that was on purpose or if he just felt, I'm going to pit and I'm going to do this, and then all of a sudden gets first. It's amazing to see a strategy work out so well.
Yeah, that was the turning point, wasn't it? The second he pitted early for the new set of tires, that was what totally changed the race, along with, of course, Max Janssen's incident. Stijn, what are your thoughts? Oh, I just wanted to mention, Jim, I think you could start a business by for drivers paying you to say that you think they're gonna win before the race. Because yeah, that's a really good call. I thought it was a bit out there, but I was wrong. You were right. Stijn, what are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah, big surprise that Max Janssen ended up being last after his mistake. Yeah, Max, of course, not known to make a lot of mistakes. Always a really clean and yeah, cool driver, if you ask me. So yeah, it was kind of unexpected. And yeah, when James said Janus Sparkon, yeah, I'm sorry, just struggling with the name here. When he called him to maybe win the race, I thought that's not gonna happen. But yeah, terrific call, he won. So yeah, congrats to him. And yeah, hopefully next race will be exciting as this one, and maybe we'll have some more people showing up.
Just before we go, Cemal, who is running the stream, I want to advise that Yanis would like to do an interview, if that's at all possible. Can you indicate to us in chat? Oh, okay. So we're gonna have Yanis Orzakowski, also known as Yanis Sparkon, in for an interview after his first win in ARL. Guys, oh, we'll add him in a minute.
I think he'll be impressed that he didn't get the commentator's curse from me.
Yeah, no, the commentator's blessing, it seemed like this time.
Yeah. Well,
we
can do the same next week, and then maybe I'll start charging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to show a little consistency. Yeah, so me and Stijn laid the curse on Max. We were talking him up all race. Stijn said he didn't see him getting beat, and then he crashed, and then, yep.
Yeah, I'm terribly sorry for that. Yeah, me saying I don't see him not winning the race might have been a bit of a too risky call in this case. But yeah,
I think a lot of that came down to just tires, because I don't think I've ever seen a race in GT3 so far in like my time of watching and commentating to have a 52-degree racetrack.
Yeah, it was really hot, especially I think his cooling his tires down after a spin like that. That was seemed to have killed his race.
I think we now have Yanis Sparkon, Yanis Orzakowski, is it?
Yeah.
With us today after his first ARL win. Take us through the race from your perspective.
Yeah, I think at the beginning I had this little crash with Pawn, Robert, where his internet just gave up.
Yeah.
After that, I was in third place with around, I think, 3 seconds. I was behind them, and I was slowly catching them, and I thought, so just go for the undercut, because my tires were overheating like, it was like an oven.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I went for the undercut, and I was, I think, 1 second ahead when he came out of the pits, the Ferrari.
Yeah.
So he tried to send it sometimes, once into the second chicane. That was really close. I had to totally stop steering, go to the other side, and let him pass because he oversended it. But after that, it was pretty close between the two of us. He made a little mistake in the first chicane, I think it was. And after that, he needed some time to catch up, and in the end, I was able to stay ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you stayed very calm while under immense pressure from a very fast driver. How'd you keep so calm?
What helped me was that I raced at this track, especially I had a 4-hour race in the game, which helped me a lot, especially for driving, and staying calm was pretty easy, I would say. I have yeah.
Talk us through your
I think
mindset.
it was
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it was kind of, it was just stay on track. So I knew I made a lot of mistakes in the past on this track, especially in the first corner, where the back end just went sometimes. What thankfully didn't happen this race. But overall, I was just keep it in front, keep it on the black stuff.
Yep.
And just going for it, pushing every lap to the maximum.
When you came out of the pits and you saw that you were ahead of Alexei Kaipinen, what was going through your head?
I thought, so he came out, not I did.
Yeah,
but,
sorry. Apologies.
But yeah, it's okay. I thought, yes, that's it. Just stay ahead. But I was concerned about the tires because he had tires that were cold, that had much more grip than mine at that time, and I just wanted to stay on track and push really to the maximum. The back just stepped out little times, but in a way that it was comfortable. So, yeah.
And finally, last thing for me, anyways, you're an ARL race winner. How do you feel?
Yeah, I hope that I can continue this form for the Daytona race later in August, the 8-hour race. But I don't think so because the competition is there much higher, I think.
Yeah.
So, but I have to get ready for it now.
Well, best of luck, Stijn.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have anything you want to ask?
No, you asked some very good questions. So
Yeah, we're gonna
well, congrats to you with your win, of course, today. That's all I'm gonna say.
And I think all I can say is called it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was on your back the whole race. As soon as he saw you in third, he was like, "I think Jan." He said he thought you were gonna win.
Thanks.
Well, it came down to, I think, I had the feeling when I was watching you driving consistently, and I think it was probably around about the fifth or sixth lap. I was like, Sparkinen's got something like interesting going on. Because I did feel that not many of the drivers, or at least the top two, were not. They were concentrating on the battle so much that they weren't concentrating on tires. Whereas you had enough gap between fourth and second, where I get the feeling you were just like, I'm watching my tires, I'm biding my time. So yeah, it was nice to see that I was right in my guess of you actually concentrating. Now, whether or not I do it next week, I don't know. But...
So tire saving was not possible in the race. So the tires were like not green because of the 40 degrees outside. They were like yellow, orange, kind of. They were so much overheating, and I just really adapted to it, and yeah, after that I was catching them by three tenths a lap. So, and then I made the right call with strategy.
Well, Yanis, thanks so much for your time. Congrats on your
welcome.
win, and good
Thank
luck
you.
on the rest of the season and in Daytona.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you later.
Stein, Jim, any last thoughts?
Yeah, well, of course, everyone, thanks for watching today again. I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me again, guys. Had a lot of fun.
Pleasure. Jim, thank you as well.
His name is
Yeah.
James.
It really,
well,
it really doesn't matter. I go with either. No, you're fine.
James, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I hope to see you in another 2 weeks for another extremely interesting race, and hopefully we will have a couple more drivers this time to really create some interesting battles and strategies to come out, and preferably not being as hot.
That would be very
nice.
nice. Yes, indeed. Okay, from Stijn, Prins, Cemal, Kirac, Jim, I still know his last name, and myself, Nicholas Barnsdale, thank you for watching another Ace Racing League event. We wish you all a happy weekend. Goodbye.